The administration's sending out high-level lackeys to beg newsrooms, anchors, and journalists for better coverage because the presidential bed Joe Biden has made for himself is apparently a little too lumpy. Tough Tetons, sir. Running for president is hard, but being president is almost impossible. Half the country hates you, this racial hot pot has boiled over, and inflation and crime are devouring whatever goodwill Biden had left from lifelong Democrats. CNN is reporting National Economic Council deputy directors David Kamen and Bharat Ramamurthy are begging journos to give them some positive spin, man. And my question is, why on earth would journalists do that? If you hate President Trump, that's how you got President Trump. Much of the press coverage for President Obama was too positive, even when things weren't so rosy. In his first 60 days, Obama received 42% positive coverage, according to the Pew Research Center. Trump's first 60, 5% positive. Two-thirds of the coverage was negative and focused on his personality, not policies. Well, the lapdogs have activated, as reliable sources tweeted. This president is absolutely right to grouse about the unflattering reporting. Oh, he's uncomfortable? Good. So are Americans who are paying too much for gas and meat, while this administration seeks to fleece them with trillions more in inflation-rich spending. If you want people to change their minds, change your policies. Better yet, go away and take your dumb big government authoritarianism with you so we can live our lives in peace and prosper. Instead, it's constant theft of the middle class and future generations, and now they demand a parade for exacerbating long-term problems without adequately addressing, you guessed it, root causes. Voters should see this move for what it is. Propaganda, plain and simple. A compliant press is the downfall of freedom. So they should stay skeptical, honest, and agnostic to a White House who only wants to use them for personal gain while hurting Americans who were foolish enough to vote for a geriatric puppet. And that's the memo. Well, here's another explanation why Biden's been clamoring for good coverage. No one's happy. Yeah, a new Wall Street Journal poll shows 63% of Americans think the country is going in the wrong direction. This as we're swimming in crime, immigration, and spending crises. Should the liberal media continue carrying his water? The Man panel is back. Gary Hoffman, Sean Tima, and Doug Schoen. So, Gary, it's a very disgustingly close relationship, and it shouldn't be. The press should be mad. The press should be asking questions, and they should be challenging anyone in power, regardless of party. But they're not, are they?
Well, they're not. I've kind of played with this idea in my mind after hearing this story the first time. What would I do if I was a reporter, a news anchor, and I have been in both of those positions? If I'd received a call, say, from, I don't know, Gavin Newsom's administration here in California.
Gary, it's Gavin.
Was asked,
yeah. Gary, I need you to say nice things about me. Yeah, go ahead.
Your hair looks great, Mr. Governor.
Thanks.
If they were to ask for a sit-down that is something along the lines of, hey, we want to make sure that you cover the governor nicely. I would take that meeting, but the story itself would be the fact that they asked me to do it. Not that I would go around and then start turning everything and, like you were talking about, into a rosy story. The fact that they asked is in and of itself a story. And it bothers me that there's only a handful of outlets that are even reporting on that fact.
Well, it's interesting because CNN, Oliver Darcy was the one who first broke the story that the Economic Council deputies are reaching out to people, and then reliable sources like, the president should be asking for better coverage. We've been so mean to him. What is the disconnect, Sean?
Well, the disconnect is just the realization that the state got caught red-handed colluding with the state media complex.
That's right.
I mean, color me shocked. Color me shocked. The idea that every station you're watching could be a form of PBS, if you will, should be a wake-up call to America, except for Fox, of course. Now, it's pathetic, too, that Biden is out there groveling with CNN and MSNBC for this positive coverage. I mean, they're the most leftist media outlets out there. This administration is going down in flames with the lumpy bed it made for itself, like you said, and let's hope the rest of the Democratic Party goes down with it, too.
Well, they should at least wake up to what's happening, Doug, and that's what's so insulting, because you have Dana Milbank saying that the coverage for Biden is worse and more negative than it was for Trump, which is laughable on its face. And there have been plenty of studies that have shown just how negative the Trump coverage was. I wasn't crazy about his personality. There were things that he did that drove me up a wall, but I could see what the press was doing. He violated all of their mores, and they wanted, the whole time he was in office, it was revenge for them. But that doesn't mean that they should treat Joe Biden like a doddering infant. They should challenge him as well, and maybe they should stop worrying about the press coverage and worry about some of the issues that are a real problem.
You know, Kennedy, when I got hired in the mid-'90s by Bill Clinton, he didn't ask me to change the press coverage. He said, change my government, change my policies, help me move to the center on fiscal issues and cultural issues so that I can get reelected. That's the same advice that I would give to Joe Biden. And I say that with greetings, Kennedy, not from New York, where I'm from, but from South Florida, where I now live.
No, you and Carol Markowitz, you guys are shacking up. It's
Absolutely.
so hot. Yeah. So Bill Clinton was like, get me some policies that reflect the country and get me an intern who will show me her thong.
Well, I didn't have much to do with that one, but on the first one, we did get him a bunch of policies.
He did. No, he was a moderate.
The country.
AOC would flatten him with a steamroller if they were existing in the same political moment. All right, meantime, it looks like the White House has yet again been caught in a lie. Remember a few months ago when we learned the IRS wanted a record of any transaction or withdrawal over $600? Well, then it jumped to 10 grand for an entire year. They said it was to catch tax cheats and to pay for Sleepy Joe's $2 trillion spending plan. The Biden administration then bizarrely claimed it would only affect millionaires and billionaires and soon-to-be trillionaires. Fast forward to today, the Joint Committee on Taxation now estimates 87 million Americans who earn less than $400,000 a year will be put under a banking microscope. Government overreach is at its finest. All right, so how can we stop this before it actually becomes law, Gary? People don't want this. People hate the IRS. Who's going to stand for that?
I don't know. You know who's going to be Times Person of the Year this year is Joe Manchin, the senator out of West Virginia. He's the one who is at least raising his hand and saying this is a little screwed up. This is a crazy policy, and people should be afraid of it. Mm-hmm. Now, he, along with Kristen Sinema, and I would say probably John Tester out of Montana, have come out as the most moderate Democrats. And like you said AOC would flatten somebody like Bill Clinton these days if he were in the Senate, for example.
Yeah.
Joe Manchin is a guy who represents a whole lot more of the people of the United States than other people will give him credit for. He's not crazy on one side or the other. He is what, used to be called just a politician, just a normal, small d Democrat. And the idea that he is now being held up as the weirdo for voicing an opinion that's held by so many millions of Americans is it's a little strange to me.
Yeah, and people may say one thing, but silently they're going, God, I hope Manchin tanks this whole thing, Sean.
Absolutely, and I'm actually optimistic that they'll have the votes and the pressure to make sure this fails, but we can't count on it. We should be fighting this expansion of the surveillance state tooth and nail until it's dead in the water. I mean, this is about control. And we should never accept the idea of if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
No way, man.
Spying on the bank accounts. Absolutely. Spying on the bank accounts of truck drivers, nurses, and teachers, that's not going to solve anything. And the left's got to understand this, too. This would not even target the 1% of the 1%, but it would violate the economic privacy of literally everybody else. And we shouldn't tolerate that.
Yeah, and it also is going to violate those making far less than $400,000 a year. So should they just give the whole thing up? It wasn't in the House bill, Doug. They're hoping to sneak it back in to the Senate version, and I think that's when Sinema and Manchin are going to stand up and say, absolutely not. That's not going to fly with their voters.
My sense is with the bad poll numbers for Biden, the bad inflation numbers, and the overreach of government as reflected in this new IRS proposed policy, we are likely to get one of two or two of two, Sinema and Manchin, saying no to both the spending and the tax policies embedded in the bill. I hope so, because it's bad politics, bad policy, and it's bad for America.
And if it passes, it's going to be even worse for the midterms. Man panel, thank you so much for being here. Well, see, Doug, you took